Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming a former child actor from the late 50s all the way into the 60s, Michael McGreevey. He was the kid on Riverboat, and he guest starred on so many classic TV series, from The Donna Reed Show to Route 66 to Dr. Kildare. He did a bunch of Disney movies like The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, The Strongest Man in the World. And then later, he became a screenwriter, and he wrote the Ruby and Oswald TV movie of the week with Frederick Forrest. And then he became a writer for Wonder Woman and The Incredible Hulk, and then later, writer-producer on the TV show version of Fame. And I'm having him on the show today to talk about all that stuff. I can't wait. He comes from a show business background. It's going to be a great conversation. I hope all of you out there are enjoying your quarantine, making use of it, I should say. This is a difficult time for all of us, but we will all get through it because we are strong, and we are going to outjump the orange nuisance that I call Trump. And I'm not a political guy, but I had to say that. So yeah, here is my interview with Michael McGreevey.
Hello.
Hey, Michael, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, Tommy.
How are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm sitting out in the sun on my porch, making it a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful day. We have a little bit of wind over here in Reading, but other than that, it is a beautiful day.
I've noticed that since, the sort of the lockdown, as I call it,
yeah.
The air has improved a lot in the Los Angeles area. It's really beautiful. It just shows what, if we could get all these cars off the highways, what we could do with the pollution.
I totally agree, yes. This is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, going back in time, your father, of course, was John McGreevey, who wrote for television. Did he instill in you a love for show business early on before you began working in movies and television?
Both my parents. They had met at the University of Indiana in the theater department, and they were both aspiring actors at one point. My father always wanted to write, though, from a very early age. Even as a child, I was born in Phoenix. They ran the Phoenix Little Theater in Phoenix in the late 40s, early 50s. And I remember going as a little boy and sitting backstage watching my mother perform in the play I Remember Mama. So, and my father, he was a very good actor in his own right. But once he started working in the business, once we came out to California, his involvement in the business made me interested. But my real entree into being an actor or performer was I was a dancer. As a little boy, I saw Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and my sister and I begged my mother to take us to dance class. And so when we got out to California, I was about 7 or 8. I was at a dance studio that was owned by Margin Gower Champion, and they were a famous dance couple in the MGM musicals. And Gower started directing movies and doing production numbers in big movies. And there was a movie called The Girl Most Likely with Jane Powell, RKO, he was working on. And he was looking for kids for a particular number, a fantasy number with Jane and Cliff Robertson. And he went to the dance school, and he picked me. So that's really how I got into the business, totally by accident, although I did have the background of my parents being very active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wasn't that just a magical time you wish was still here?
Oh, gosh, yes. I was thinking about, someone told me that Jane Powell, who's now in her 90s, and they mentioned Jane Powell. I forget what the context was, but, and I remember back to the 50s and working at the studios and just the glamour of it all is gone now, unfortunately, because everything's so spread out and everything's streamed now. You don't go to the theaters anymore. It's changed so much, and that sort of Hollywood glitz is gone, and I was lucky enough to work with a lot of big stars during that time, and I cherish it now. I look back and really cherish the opportunities that I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just a magical time. You were born in Arizona but raised in Hollywood?
Yeah, we my dad worked in radio in Phoenix, and then went to New York to work in radio and television. We lived in Connecticut for a couple of years. 4, 5, and 6 years old, we were back in Connecticut and the New York area. And then television, when television really broke out, it moved from New York to California. And so I was about 7 years old when we came to California. And the Girl Most Likely, which was my first official job, I was 8 years old. So that was about 1955.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lived in Arizona very briefly back in 2007. I had to leave after 3 months. It was just too hot there for me.
Yeah, as my mother always said, though, that it's a dry heat.
Yeah,
which was supposed to make it feel better. But when it's 115 out, it's just hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get that over here in Redding, but not as bad. But it could get pretty dry heat in the summertime.
Yeah.
So after The Girl Most Likely, you got to work with Alan Ladd on one of his later films, The Man in the Net.
Yeah. And that was directed by another legend, Michael Curtiz, who directed Casablanca, Adventures of Robin Hood, on and on and on. So yeah, I was pretty lucky. I went from working with Jane Powell to working with Alan Ladd and Michael Curtiz. And then right after that, I worked with a wonderful director named Andre de Toth.
Yep.
In the Day of the Outlaw with Robert Ryan and Earl Ives and Tina Louise. So there was that period there where I just went from one legendary movie to the next. I didn't know it at the time, obviously. But,
yeah.
And I was telling someone the other day, I was laughing about that. My image of directors in my early years was that they were all bald-headed Hungarians with thick accents, because Curtiz and de Toth both were Hungarian guys, very different personalities.
Yeah.
I was scared of Curtiz. Curtiz was a very scary person, but a great director. And Andre de Toth was this gentle, kind, but they both had this very thick accent, and they would talk like that. So that's what I thought all directors did the first 3 years of my career.
That's funny. I know an actress who got to work with Andre de Toth on his very last movie in the late 80s. It was this really low-budget horror movie that no one saw. It was a big step down from, his impressive career that he had and stuff. And she found him to be a little scary, but she was excited though that she got to be in his last movie. It was a very big feather in her cap.
Sure, wonderful man, and underappreciated. You're right. I mean, he should have gone out directing big studio pictures because he was that good. But like anything, he's being appreciated now. There's been several books written, and I just I helped a guy who did the audio commentary on a new Blu-ray for Day of the Outlaw.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Ducoff is finally getting his due.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you know when that's going to be out?
I think it's out now. They sent me a copy. I'm not sure. If you go, online on Amazon, and I think it was done by a French company.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in English, and it's a beautiful. They sent me a copy. It's a beautiful print, black and white print, and I had forgotten how good that movie was. It's funny. I was 10 years old when I was doing that movie, so I didn't really grasp what it was about because it was a very sophisticated, very adult movie. And watching it again after all these years, it was really quite exciting to be a part of something like that.
Mm-hmm. And, what do you remember about Alan Ladd?
Mainly that he was very ill at the time, unfortunately. He was struggling with several ailments and wasn't feeling well. Very sweet, kind man. I later became good friends with his son, David Ladd. And David actually was on the location. We shot that on location in Connecticut, Man in the Net. But at the time, poor Alan was sort of suffering from several physical ailments and was very, very quiet and sort of withdrawn on the picture. Very kind, though. And later on, when I became friends with David, I actually went over to their house in Beverly Hills to see David. And Mr. Ladd was very sweet, very sweet. The other thing that, everybody asked me about that, he was short.
Yeah.
That whole big and bad Alan Ladd, which I had seen Shane. I had just seen Shane as a kid, and I was so excited to get to work with Alan Ladd. And they warned us, though. It was interesting. The production people, the assistant directors said, now Mr. Ladd is not a tall man. And I remember them, there was a dolly shot. Here we are, we're all kids. It was 5 or 6 kids, Susie Gordon and Steve Perry and Charlie Herbert, me. Mm-hmm. And there was a scene where we were walking with Alan Ladd, and they had a dolly thing, and they built a ramp for him to make sure that he looked taller than us kids. Because he really wasn't that much taller than me, and I was only about 5'3", 5'4" at the time.
And you were a kid.
And I was a kid. But a sweet man. Unfortunately, on that particular picture, he was not feeling well. And I think the performance shows. I think you can see. I hadn't seen it in years. I watched some of it on Turner Classic, and you can see that his energy level is not what it was at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
And Curtiz was a very tough director. I mean, he wore everybody out.
He's one of those geniuses like John Ford, who was really tough on his actors.
What Jimmy Cagney said of Michael Curtiz, that he was an asshole, but he was a talented asshole.
Good way to put it.
And Curtiz directed Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is a marvelous movie, and
mm-hmm.
I think it's Cagney's best performance. So
yeah, Academy Award-winning performance too.
Absolutely.
What do you remember about Robert Ryan on Day of the Outlaw?
Again, very serious actor and very kind. I was more attracted to on that particular picture because I knew him from television. David Nelson from the Nelsons from Ozzie and Harriet was on that picture, and he was young, and Ricky came up to the location, and I was like really impressed with, and all the girls in Bend, Oregon were impressed too. But Ricky was there because I knew who they were. I didn't know. That was the problem being a kid actor. So I didn't know how important Robert Ryan was. And he, again, was a very quiet, very off to himself, very intellectual actor. I remember him, it was one of the first times I remember some actor talking to a director with the talk in a manner that was very intellectual and very smart, asking these deep psychological questions about the scene, you know.
Yeah.
But damn good. You knew, even as a kid, I knew that Robert Ryan was quite an actor.
Yeah.
And like all of my experiences with these people, like Ryan and Ladd, and later on people like Robert Mitchum and Kirk Douglas and Richard Widmark, I learned from these actors, you know, just by being around them and watching how they worked and working with them, connecting with them. And Ryan was one of those guys. I remember also in that movie was a character actor named Nehemiah Persoff, marvelous guy who's still alive. He's 100 years old.
Wow.
And I remember watching Nehemiah Persoff work, how he prepared and took a moment, you know, before took a quiet moment for himself off to the side always. And you know, I always learned and incorporated as a kid actor. I never had any official training till much later in life. But I always tell everybody that I sort of learned acting by working with good directors and good actors. So
yeah. Who did you train with later when you learned?
what I say again? I'm sorry.
Oh, who did you train with when you took acting lessons later?
I went to the Actors Studio. With Strasberg. I went for a summer program when I was 19, and it was really fun. And that was at the encouragement of Sally Field. I had done a movie with Sally, and both of us sort of came from the same place in terms of being natural actors without any real training. And when she was doing The Flying Nun, she started going to the Actors Studio in Hollywood. And I went a couple times with her. Lou Antonio was the guy who was the real teacher there. And then they offered this summer program, and I got to go one summer to, I lived in Greenwich Village for 3 months and trained with Lee Strasberg. And it was interesting. Everything I had learned on my own was sort of like, and Strasberg helped me do that. He said, "You have your own method, Mike. You know, but here's a way to improve upon it, and I'll give you the technique and the tools that'll make you even a better actor." So.
Wow, that's amazing.
The same thing, you know, Sally Field. That's really what she went through too. Of course, I knew working with her. I did a movie with her called The Way West, and it was right after she had done the Gidget series, so it was really only her second thing, her first movie, and I had a lot of scenes with her. We were the romantic couple in it, and boy, I knew then. I remember just thinking, boy, this lady is good, and she proved me right.
Yeah, she had an amazing career. Just how she transformed from being Gidget to the Flying Nun to being an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, she's done okay.
Yeah,
nice lady too. Very nice lady.
I've heard she's a very nice lady. Yeah. So how does Riverboat come into your life?
Yeah, that was a wonderful surprise. I had done several more movies and then started doing quite a few television shows, like Wagon Train and such. I did quite a few Lassies. I know you're friends with John Provost and Lori James.
Yep.
I did 3 Lassie episodes, and I got called in to Universal. I didn't even have to didn't read or audition. They had seen me in something, and they wanted to add a cabin boy. This is a series, 1959, 1960 at Universal on CBS, Riverboat, with Darren McGavin and a young actor named Burt Reynolds. And about 7 shows in, they decided they wanted to for more family fare because I guess they were switching us to Sunday nights. CBS was. They wanted a young person on the show, and so I became Chip, the cabin boy on Riverboat, and did about a season and a half. I think I did about 22, 23 one-hour episodes. And again, it was a great training ground for me and a wonderful experience. I adored Darren McGavin. He became sort of a second father figure for me. And I adored Burt Reynolds. He became a big brother. And he had been a football player, and I was into sports at the time very heavily. In fact, my first football I ever got, Burt Reynolds gave me as a birthday present on the show. And we used to go out and play catch all the time. Unfortunately, Burt and Darren didn't get along at all.
Yeah.
So it's sort of famous that they feuded. And I never quite understood it. It hurt me because I loved both of them.
Yeah.
And then there was a very traumatic moment where they got basically into a physical altercation on the set. And Burt always denied this, but I witnessed it. So Burt threw Darren into the river, off the riverboat. And the next day, all of us came back to work to discover that Burt had been let go. And so that was pretty disappointing. But he always told the story that he was let go because he wasn't a good enough actor.
Yeah.
Which at the time I think probably was true, which is what I think he was so defensive around Darren about. But I think the reality was a combination of that he really wasn't performing well and that he had gotten into the fight with Darren. The legend is that when he was fired, he would walk back to his car on the back lot.
Yeah.
And as he was walking, another contract player was walking to his car.
Clint Eastwood.
The other contract player said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I just got fired. I got let go." And the other contract player says, "Oh my God, so did I." And he said, "Well, why for you, Burt?" And he said, "Well, I'm just not a good enough actor." And Burt said, "What about you?" And the other contract player said, "Well, they said my Adam's apple was too big." And Burt supposedly said, "Well, at least I can become a better actor. You can't do anything about your Adam's apple." The other actor, contract player, was Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
So basically, Universal Studios fired Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood on the same day.
And David Jansen.
On to be #1 box office for 10 years running. You know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That's legend. I don't know if it's all true. Burt told that story. He used to tell that story all the time. And,
Yeah.
Riverboat for me was just a gas. I loved every minute of it and was very disappointed when the show got canceled. Again, great training ground. Lots of fun. Learned a lot.
Yeah, I always heard him tell that story. And there's another story I heard him tell that they were shooting next door to the Stanley Kramer movie, Inherit the Wind. And
absolutely,
he got to have lunch with Spencer Tracy a couple times, and he had this very tender moment. It's very poignant whenever I hear it. He said to Spencer Tracy, he said, "Mr. Tracy, you're just the best actor in movies. Is there anything that you're not good at?" And Spencer Tracy said to him, "Life." I thought that was very poignant and very true to who Spencer Tracy was, you know?
And that really, all that really happened because I witnessed, my mom and I would go with Burt. We were on stage 27, which was the process stage. Riverboat was shot on the process stage because they could put water underneath the prop boat that we were on, and right across the street was the old Phantom stage where the Phantom of the Opera was the original Phantom of the Opera with Lon Chaney, and that's where they were shooting Inherit the Wind. My story that I remember is that Bert, my mom, and I went over to the Inherit the Wind stage and went on to watch, and they were doing all the courtroom stuff, and these long takes, a 10-minute take with Tracy and Frederick March. Amazing acting, and it was just fun to watch. But, they'd go on a red light, so you couldn't go out during the take. And then you had to go out real quick because Stanley Kramer, the director, was very fast to say, let's go again. Tracy always wanted to go again right away. So we got stuck on the soundstage for like a half hour. We couldn't get up. Finally, we got out, and standing out in front of the process stage right across the street were both assistant directors on Riverboat saying, where the hell have you people been? We've been looking all over for you. But the story about Bert befriending Tracy is absolutely true. I witnessed that. And Bert would come back. I went several times with my mom and Bert to watch Tracy and March work. And Bert would come back and just say, can you believe how good they are? He'd say. Yeah. I want to feel like that. He was a sweetheart of a guy. I love Bert. I mean, everybody loved Bert.
Yeah. Did you get to work with Noah Berry Jr.?
No, not on that. Noah came on after I had left. They made a shift in trying to save the show. They brought Noah on to be the older captain, sort of for Darren, trying to change up. But I had left. But I did know Noah. Yeah, I worked with him a couple times on other shows and stuff. And he was a terrific guy.
Yeah, he later got big. I was going to say he later got big for the Rockford Files.
Right. And in my experience, all these great character actors, like Noah Berry, like later on I worked with Toby Carey, Harry Carey Jr., Jack Elam, even on Riverboat. John Mitchum was on Riverboat. All these great character guys, they were always the most Paul Fix. They were always the most interesting people off camera. More so than the stars, just more entertaining. I did all those movies at Disney with Kurt Russell, and Joe Flynn was in all of those. And what a character! What a fantastic guy he was, and how interesting he was, and how funny he was off camera, even funnier than he was on camera. So my memory of all these great character people are that I was very lucky to be able to work with those guys. And those women. There were some great character women too. Connie Sawyer, my God, she lived to 104.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guest starred on so many great shows. The Donna Reed Show.
Oh yeah. There was a week. I was in love with Shelley Fabrez, of course.
Oh, who wasn't?
Like all 12-year-old boys in America were at that time. So I fought for Shelley because I followed her around the whole week. But again, God, what a thrill to work with Donna Reed. What a wonderful actress and wonderful woman she was. My God, it was the best week. And Paul, Paul was a bit of a brat, which I've kidded him about over the years. But he was fun too. And Carl Bess was wonderful on that show. Yeah, very lucky to work with a lot of great people. I did a Shirley Temple storybook special for NBC, live on tape broadcast, called Little Men. Had a big cast in it, but I got to meet Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
And worked with Shirley Temple for a couple of minutes. were always. I look back on working with Robert Mitchum. It was just amazing. And at the time, it was just, I was just doing my job, but I look back now and say, God, you were lucky. Not only to work with him because he was a fascinating actor, but also to work with him and get to know him because he was an extraordinary man. I mean, just an enigma on foot. He was just the most fascinating guy. Same thing with Richard Widmark. I mean, I did 2 movies with Richard Widmark, and I think somebody asked me the other day who were the biggest influences on me, and I think there were 2. Richard Widmark, because I worked with him twice, and I learned so much about acting and so much about being a professional. And then the other person that had a big influence, obviously, is my friend Kurt Russell, who I think doesn't get enough credit at how really damn good he is, because he makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kurt and I've had those type of relationships. Widmark, I had that relationship with, where I connected right away. Kurt, I connected right away. There was a young actor that played my brother twice in Disney movies, Billy Mooney, from Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm.
Even as little kids, Bill Mooney and I instantly connected. It was like, it was magical. It was like almost instantaneous without any help from anybody. And he was like 8 or 9, and I was like 12 or 13 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I met...
Interesting.
Yeah, I met Paul Peterson in 1990 when I was like 6 or 7. I grew up in San Mateo, California, and the Nick at Night TV stars would come to our local shopping mall to sign autographs. And me and my mother, we got to go meet him. And he was a very nice guy. He looked like he didn't want to be there, but he was a very nice guy. And he got a kick out of the fact that my mom's name is Donna. So, so we got his autographs, and then we put them in. My mom put both of them in her bedroom dresser, and when we moved out of the house, they were gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Paul has done such great work with the minor consideration foundation. Child actors. Fortunately, I never had all of the horror stories, because I think my parents just didn't allow me to get carried away with it. It was just something fun that I did and that I enjoyed doing, and I didn't have all the awful things that happened to some of these child actors. I think the other thing that saved me was I wasn't on a huge hit show, like Paul was, or Jay North, or these people that became so identified. Johnny Whitaker, I know, on Family Affair, but they've all had their struggles. But to their credit, they pulled out of it, most of them. Some of them sadly haven't, but then again, there are people like myself and Kurt, and Bill Mooney's wonderful. I mean, he's a happy man. He's got a wonderful family.
Yeah.
He's become a great musician and songwriter. And even people like Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers from Leave It to Beaver, they're pretty solid guys. Pretty normal. So that it's not all a sad tale working in Hollywood as a child.
Yeah.
There's some success stories. Look at Ron Howard. My God.
Yeah, Ron Howard, him and Kurt Russell. I mean, just got their head on their shoulders straight and making money.
Right. They both made a lot more than I ever made.
Yeah.
The thrill for me with Kurt, unfortunately, he got canceled. I was supposed to, today, we were supposed to get on a private jet and fly to Oklahoma City together because he was going to be honored in the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, along with his father, darn coronavirus thing.
Ugh.
They rescheduled it. Hopefully, we'll do it in October. But I was sort of instrumental in getting Kurt. He doesn't like awards, but he is a cowboy. Hard.
Yeah.
So this one, he decided he wanted to accept, and I think rightfully he should be honored.
Yeah, I agree. In addition to doing Disney movies with him, you also did some with Dean Jones.
Oh yeah, I did 2 movies with Dean: Snowball Express and the Shaggy D.A. My time at Disney, again, I sound like I'm a Pollyanna guy, but I had such a wonderful time at Disney Studios, both as a kid and as an adult, a young adult. And I was lucky enough to work with Dean, and what a terrific guy, again. Underrated actor, again, because of what he was doing. Dean, I think, had a very unhappy personal life at one point, and when we were doing Snowball Express, I was aware of it. I had dinner with him alone several times, and he had sort of gone through some stuff personally that was unfortunate, but he met this wonderful gal who was a heavy-duty Christian. Just turned him around, and by the time I did Shaggy D.A. with him, Dean was back to being happy-go-lucky Dean, and just a terrific guy to be around. And I think, he ended up doing a lot of great stuff. He was always working for charities and that sort of things. And I was happy for him. I was sad when he passed away, but and again, I don't think he gets the credit that he should. Those movies mean a lot to people. I go to these Disney conventions and like D23 and that. My God, I realized, my wife made me realize how important some of these, what I always thought were these silly little comedies that I did at Disney, to people. It brings them a lot of joy and happiness, and I should be happy for that, that I'm able to do that, or my work is able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a Disney legend. I mean, he did the Herbie movies and all that stuff. So, I mean, they were by no means, high art or anything, but they entertained kids and families.
Yeah, and there's an art to doing that, I got to tell you. I can remember I did it was a 2-part TV thing at Disney called the Wacky Zoo of Morgan City, and the wonderful actor Hal Holbrook was in it, had the lead. And I had already done quite a few things at Disney. I'd done Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and I Seem Now You Don't. And Hal came on. Hal, again, an incredible actor, the whole Mark Twain. I had seen him on stage with Mark Twain. And Hal, about 3 days in, I went to lunch with Hal, and he said, "Mike, I'm lost. How do you do this?" And I said, "How do I do what?" He said, "This sort of Disney thing." And I said, "Well, you just have to take it a little past reality and go for, the fantasy a little bit. You have to make it a little more fantastical than normal acting." And he said, "Oh God, I don't know if I could do that." And he did finally. But it was funny. He was so mystified by doing the material. The Disney stuff is very specialized. It's very targeted, and it takes there's certain people just took to it easily, like Joe Flynn and like Keenan Wynn, Harry Morgan. Again, all these great actors that I got to work with and know. Harry Morgan, wow.
Yeah.
But what a terrific guy. On Snowball Express, I got sick up there, flu, and I was really sick. And sweet old Harry, everybody avoided me because they didn't want to get it. Harry would bring me soup and tea and bring my medications from the first aid guy. And the first Christmas card I ever got from Harry Morgan, he he signed it, Harry Morgan, registered RN. He was, again, God, just a great guy. And
yeah.
when you think about all the work he did.
MASH, Dragnet, the Oxbow incident. He did some great work, Harry
Boy,
Morgan.
You know your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched Sissy Wellman is a good friend of mine, and I hadn't watched Oxbow in years. And her dad, Bill Wellman, of course, directed it. And I had forgotten that Harry was in that movie, and he's in the movie, but he's listed as Henry Morgan.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things he did, and he changed it because of the other Henry Morgan. But Oxbow Incident, what a powerful movie. And I called up Sissy and said, God, I watched Oxbow. And she said, it's really powerful. I said, yeah. Anyhow.
Both Jane and Henry Fonda, Jane and Peter Fonda, have confirmed that role was the closest to what Henry Fonda was off stage.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, very passionate about the fighting for the justice of others, and he was very political.
Right.
I got to work with. I deliberately took a small part in a TV show called The Smith Family.
Mm-hmm.
That Henry Fonda was the lead in, and I took the role because I wanted to work with Henry Fonda, and I got to do that for one day, and then we also I remember off camera sitting around, and he sort of held court, and you're right, he was talking about politics at the time, and I forget the details, but it was a great day for me that I got to work with him. And I did the same thing. I worked one day as a kid with Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, wow.
And,
one of my favorites.
And a thing called Star Time, called Cindy's Fella. And so I look back on that. Really, I was fortunate. I almost did a picture later with Stewart, but I didn't. It came down to me and another actor, and the other actor was Kurt Russell. He got it. It was a movie called Fool's Parade.
Oh, yeah. I remember Fool's Parade. That's the one where Jimmy Stewart's got, like, the fake eye or something. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, that was directed by a man named Andy McLaughlin.
Yes. He did.
Who I like, again, maybe not the greatest director that ever lived, but the nicest director that ever lived. It was just fun working with on a picture with Andy. So
lots of war movies, lots of westerns that man made.
Absolutely. And of course, his father was Victor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Character actor, John Ford, character actor.
So what made you decide that you were going to follow in your father's footsteps of writing for TV?
Yeah, I what happened. I talked about how much I enjoyed the acting at Disney. What happened, and it happened in those days. It doesn't happen today, thank goodness. I got very typed. I was a Disney actor suddenly, even though I had done tons of work that wasn't Disney related. And that happened to Kurt too. Kurt. Yeah. It was a real slow period for Kurt, where until he got the Elvis part, where he played Presley on television, his career was pretty much, as we used to say, in the dumps.
Yeah.
I went to mainly to avoid going to Vietnam. I went to UCLA and got my student deferments to stay out of the war, and got my degree in film at UCLA, and I was rooming with Kurt at the time, and Kurt and I started writing together. And my dad encouraged us, and his dad, Bing, who was a very good writer too, encouraged us. And so at that point, I was just waiting for a break, and I was lucky enough. Dad was writing The Waltons for Earl Hamner Jr., and I got a Walton assignment and wrote a Walton episode. And then I got to work with my dad. I did a 3-hour movie for CBS called
Oswald.
Yeah.
It was about the Kennedy assassination, and that's when I really got the bug. I had a whole year to research. I did all the research for that screenplay, and it was a 3-hour movie. So I really got the writing bug on that project. And then it just took off. I started getting a lot of TV assignments, and if you can write or write well in Hollywood, you automatically sort of move up the ladder pretty quickly. And I got on a TV show called Fame.
Yep.
Started just as one of the staff writers the first year. And by the 6th year on Fame, I was the producer. And that's what happens if you can write and write well. And Fame was like a godsend for me. It was doing a musical show, an hour musical show every week. It was like, that's where I started. I started in musical theater and dancing. That was like the dream job for me to get to do the Fame series. Plus, it put my 3 kids through college, the residuals alone. So it was a great experience.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, didn't you also write for Wonder Woman, The Incredible Hulk?
Yes, I did. Actually, I'm laughing at it, but somebody sent me the Wonder Woman. I had never seen it. It was a little sweet little thing I wrote about a guy who Wonder Woman sort of suspected of being a leprechaun. It was called Pot of Gold. It was a silly little piece. But I watched it. It was delightful. And the Incredible Hulk experience was a difficult one because I had to replace another writer. And I always felt bad about doing that. And it was a complete rewrite, I always had fun freelancing. I worked with Michael Landon on Father Murphy, and he wanted me to work on the Angel one with him. But I had a better offer from Fame at the time, so I took that. And Michael was sort of a mentor. There were several guys. Obviously, my dad was a great writing mentor for me. My dad has more credits in the Writers Guild of America than anybody ever. He was just so prolific, and he could move from doing comedy like sitcoms like My Three Sons to doing Ruby and Oswald or Roots 2, or he was an amazing writer in terms of his scope and his abilities to change different genres and do everything different, so he obviously was the biggest influence. Earl Hamner Jr., who I just, about 4 years ago, I did a documentary about, produced and wrote, called Earl Hamner Storyteller, who created the Waltons and Falcon Crest. He was a big mentor for me, and my dad's best friend. And then a guy named Bill Flynn, who started on Fame, was fired at one point, but I worked with Bill, and I did something else with Bill. And then Michael Landon. Those were the people that encouraged me the most to be a writer. And it just devastated me when Michael got sick. But I did sort of pick up his legacy a little. I did a NBC movie special called Bonanza: The Return with Michael Landon Jr. as a matter of fact. And we got to work with all of Michael's Ben Michael's crew, his line producer, Kent McRae. All those people were reunited to do the movie, which was sort of fun.
Nice. So what are you doing these days?
I'm quarantined. I'm like everybody else. Now, I'm pretty much retired. I had some health issues a couple years ago. I had open heart bypass surgery, and it sort of scared me to shape up. And so now I spend a lot of time working out and staying healthy. And I am starting to outline a book, a little memoir that everybody keeps telling me I should write.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to do that, or continue to do that, and see if anybody wants to publish it. And my wife, who is an educator, retired just 2 years ago. So we're just we were doing a lot of traveling and going to see our grown children in places like Brooklyn and San Francisco, and my oldest son is here in Los Angeles, thank God. So just enjoying life is really what I've been doing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I had open heart surgery in 2015 following a car accident. It's no fun, I tell you. I'm just starting to get.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
I've got a little pillow. Yeah.
It's starting. I'm starting to get healthy again and stuff. I gained some weight again and stuff, and because they said depression was going to come with it, so I'm in the middle of losing weight again. I've lost 25 pounds so far.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know
how hard that is too. Yeah.
I got a long way to go, but I'm halfway there. But I think that's great, though, that you're writing a memoir. You know, it's funny. Ever since I started this podcast, I found out that everyone is writing a memoir, and deservedly so, because they got some great stories out there.
Yeah, when I think about the interconnectedness that I had with all these people, that like your podcast, the whole 50s, 60s stuff, I really was central in it in terms of my contacts. So I think a lot of people would benefit from my stories, and I hope it would be a little entertaining and have some laughs and that sort of thing. I've told these stories at parties for years. So, now it's time maybe to get it out there.
Yeah.
I have a lot of followers on Facebook, and they've all been encouraging me to do it. And my wife finally said, you should do it. So I figured this period of quarantine and being locked down is a good time to start doing it. So hopefully I'll have something at the end of all this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are writing books too because they're tired of answering the same stupid questions at conventions. They want to say, "Here, buy my book,"
Oh, I don't mind the fans. I've never been bothered by the fans. That's why we did this. I mean, if you're really honest with yourself, you did it because you wanted the people to like you, and the fact that they still like you or like your work, I never get tired of it. It's great, and I don't do enough of those conventions. I should do more. I did one just in January, a Disney one, which was fun. But again, there's something about me. I feel uncomfortable taking money for my signature.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And it's the same thing. Kurt Russell is the same way. He said at one point. I said, well, you could donate all the money to Goldie's foundation.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, I understand that. He said, but, I don't know. I feel weird doing it. So that's why I guess his signature is worth a lot, because he doesn't do that much of it. Anyhow,
but
he should write a book. My God,
yeah,
it would be a hell of a book.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, look at just how amazing his career is.
Well, and he owes me because there was a period. We lived together for almost 3 years. We were roommates. I used to get calls from National Enquirer and all those rags, offering me money to say something,
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird, really weird. So I always say to Kurt, I say, you owe me big time.
That's brilliant. I like that. Well, Michael, I thank you so much for coming on today. This was very pleasant and a lot of fun, and I hope you stay safe and write that book because, I'll be the first one there.
Okay, Tommy. Well, what I really look forward to is meeting you in person sometime. So,
Gosh, I would love to. Hopefully, the convention scene will survive after this.
yeah, I'm worried about that, but I hope so too. We'll just have to keep our distance.
Yeah, you know what? I have a feeling that when the conventions start up again, there's going to be lots of hand sanitizer there, and everyone is going to have a plastic shield at their table.
I can envision that too. So I also saw that you're doing stand-up comedy. I hope that's going well for you. I know how hard that is.
I'm taking a long break from that for the last 2 years because I did it nonstop for 10 years and a lot of things happened. But I do plan on getting back to it, especially when I move out of Reading, where there's no comedy out here. I'm going to try to get to LA in the next year or so, and I'm definitely going to go back to it out there and stuff. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Michael.
Great. I wish you luck with that. I have several friends that have done stand-up, and I know it's the hardest thing. It really is the hardest thing. And I admire anybody who even tries it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. More so behind the scenes. I mean,
yeah, no, I know that too. Yeah.
When you actually set foot on the stage, it can be bad, it can be good, but not as bad as behind the scenes. Well, Michael,
I hear you.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you have yourself a great day, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Michael McGreevey. Ain't he a cool dude? Man, very nice guy. Great stories. Can't wait till his memoir comes out. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Till next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.